What is the best advice you have ever received? The advice that has impacted your life the most? Marriage shouldn't be a 50/50 split. It should be a 60/40 split where both are trying to be the 60%. My and my fiance actually live by this. We've been together for almost 3 years now. Not once have we actually got into a knockdown drag out fight. And we both wake up every day trying to outlove and outwork each other. Underpromise and overdeliver. Mine is never forget to feed the kids in the basement. Use your vacation hours. And don't be afraid to call in sick every now and then either. No need to work like a dog and ignore your benefits to please a boss who doesn't notice. Vacation staycation days are gems that everyone should take. Always check for toilet paper before you poop. Don't be an idiot. It changed my life. Whenever I'm about to do something, I think, would an idiot do that? And if they would, I do not do that thing. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Great advice. Hurts my feelings every time. Life happens wherever you are. Whether you make it or not, Uncle Iron. Be the love you never received. All the love you need is within you. Literally. It's your brain that dishes out the happy stuff. Others just have an indirect effect on your happiness. My current boss says something as a joke that has helped me a lot more than he realizes. I am a mechanic, but I'm not always the most confident, even when I know what I'm doing. He says only one way to fix it. Fix it. Weirdly enough, it always makes me focus and remember there's no secret trick he knows that I don't. Just got to do it. Applied that to other areas of my life and it helps so much more than I would have thought. Nobody's looking at you. They're worrying about how they look. The cure for imposter syndrome is to realize that everyone else around you also has imposter syndrome. Pick a failure. Double quote. Sometimes the only options available involve some sort of failure. That's okay. Just pick one. Own it. And move on. There's almost never an instant magic solution without long-term consequences. That rare time there is. Learn to really embrace it. I went to work in construction right out of high school. Before my first day, my grandfather told me, to be successful, keep your ears open, your mouth shut, and constantly outwork the person next to you. I lived that advice and it has served me very well. That is dangerous advice. Being the silent overachiever can lead to a bad place. 2. You can't tell who is swimming naked until the tide goes out, in reference to who is actually prepared when an emergency happens. My grandpa told me this after I had moved into with my girlfriend and said living together was coming so easily. It's not the person who is easy to live with. It's the person you can't live without. We're married now. Don't half-ass two things. Whole-ass one thing. Double quote. I know. This is from Parks and Rec. But I applied it in my real life. I've had a bad habit of taking on too much and spreading myself too thin. Now I focus on one thing so that I can give the most to it and get the most out of it. Don't worry about whether or not you belong somewhere. Or if you'll fit in. Do your part. Respect and support others. If you do that and people don't accept you, it's their problem, not yours. I posted it elsewhere. But my stepdad once told me that if there is a problem and you know the solution, you can solve it. So stop worrying about it. If there is a problem you can't solve, then there is nothing you can do. So stop worrying about it. If there is a problem you can't solve, then there is nothing you can do. Don't spend your money on the fly. Save it. When you're in your late 20s, you would have amassed reasonable amounts to help pay your bills, buy a house, etc. Edit. This was an answer I got on my post on this very subreddit. I asked what advice would one give to a person in their early 20s. A couple of years ago I thought about asking a girl out, but was very nervous about it because I didn't know how she would react. A friend of mine gave me the best advice of my life. You should go for it. If she says yes, you will have a girlfriend. If she says no, you will have a hell of a story. Do not give a reason unless asked for it. You do not owe anyone anything. Only time you look in your neighbor's bowl is to make sure they have enough. The longer the bad times are now, the longer the good times will be. Do not stop fighting until they give up or your body stops working. Life is like a buffet. You have to help yourself. It's not what you say, but how you say it. Changing the way one phrases things can have an incredible effect. Someone once told me that if you want to be in a serious relationship, look at the way they treat a cat. Because if they treat a cat right, they know they have to work to earn respect and it takes patience. Also watch how they treat a waiter, waitress or anyone else that they have perceived power over. You can't drive forward looking in the rear view mirror. Funny enough, the guy who told me this was a driver's ed teacher. IAIA. When the car of life runs out of blinker fluid, just change lanes anyway. Everyone's a bunch of assholes around here. Nobody will care if you don't use your blinker. My driver's ed teacher, Leroy Jenkins. Nobody has any idea what's going on. A lot less people actually have their shit together than you might think. But in reality, everyone is just really good at faking it. Usually, they may have a true grasp of one or two things at best. That advice made me a lot less anxious about doing things like trying new hobbies, giving presentations, or applying for jobs I know nothing about. Because I know very few people are actually qualified to judge my performance. When you're being too harsh on yourself, imagine if the person with those issues is one of your friends. Treat yourself like you'd treat that friend. That helped me be way kinder to myself than before. Really. Oh shit, that one is really good. The meaning to life is just to be alive. It is so plain and so obvious and so simple. Yet everybody rushes around in a great panic as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves. Do your future self a favor. This relates to prepping for the next day, clothes ironed, lunch packed, to saving money to making healthy choices. It makes for easier decisions and a better life. Don't spend 10 hours on a BS assignment worth 1% of your grade. That doesn't help you learn the material. Spend all that time learning the material for the exams worth 30+% of your grade. Saves time and saves you from frustration. Turn the other cheek. Believe it or not, not fighting back is one of the simpler ways to defeat an attacking opponent. Mentally, of course. Not physically. But just let it be. Don't worry about it. Walk away. In the end, you're the bigger person. Don't waste time trying to change others' opinion. Simply because opinions are not facts. While I agree on you on some opinions, like if pineapple should be on pizza or not, you bet your ass I'm gonna try to change someone's opinion if they say something openly racist. 90% of the time it won't accomplish anything, but it's worth doing for that 10%. Save your money and always live within your means. As someone not working now, having some stashed away has kept our family afloat. Self-esteem comes from within and not from external factors. Learn to say no. This is especially helpful for codependents. Any kindness you pass on to others will be far more genuine if you've taken care of your own needs first. I actually have a fear of saying no. To my kids, my mom, my friends, my employer. I feel like if I say no to anything, then they will stop liking, loving me, and I'll end up all alone. I know this is a problem. I'm just not entirely sure how to go about fixing it. Best marriage advice. Sometimes you don't gotta get it. You just gotta get it. See also decorative pillows. Best career advice. When your only two options are bad, find option C. I've made a hell of a career finding the middle ground that makes everyone happy. Sometimes you can't fix everything at once and be good, so offer a short-term and long-term plan instead that addresses everything. You'll drop jaws. Do not take advice from strangers and internet forums. Don't depend on anyone else ever. You have to stand on your own 2 feet. The reason a lot of us experience anxiety is because we are idle or unhappy. The best advice I ever got was from a random stranger. Anxiety sometimes isn't a bad thing, it's our body's way of telling us to get in gear and to press forward to give our life meaning and fulfillment. I went back to school, quit my old job, and it actually worked. I have been anxiety free for 2 years. Your emotions come from nowhere else but your thinking. You have sensory input, that input leads to thought. The thoughts are based on your values and beliefs, so you create your own suffering. Evaluate your values and beliefs and change them if they cause you suffering. My dad told me a story about a time he bought some firewood. He paid for a cord of wood, but the guy only dropped off half a cord. When he went to the guy's house to confront him about it, the guy pulled a gun on him. So my dad left. The lesson he taught me is that when you are dealing with crazy people, always leave them feeling like they owe you. That way, they will go out of their way to avoid you. I have used this advice several times in my life. The difference between needs and wants. While cleaning a building site at the end of the day, I moved some bags to the other side of the room further from the door, and my dad told me to always be moving shit towards the door. I started applying it to all kinds of cleaning, then other general life situations, and it's made my life significantly easier. For example, if I had something in the kitchen I wanted to move to the bathroom and I was heading out the door, I would take the thing and put it on the stairs on the way past. Then later when I came in and needed a piss, I would finish its journey up the stairs. It makes use of movement in your life that would otherwise go unutilized and gets things done faster. It works for rubbish, general work, even people. People love to talk about themselves. If you're wanting to be friends or continue conversation with someone, ask them questions about themselves, rather than trying to figure out something about yourself. I'm adding this last part. If they ask questions back and put back what you're putting in, they will be a good person to get to know. Close bracket. Leave my husband. When you find a place you like to work in, make yourself indispensable. I'm a waitress, and for the last 3.1/2 years I've worked in a place I love to be in. There is no job there I turn down. I clean the toilets. I can't run the pot wash. I'll do the hoovering. If cuts ever have to be made, my name will not be on the list. Protection and power are overrated. I think you are very wise to choose happiness and love. Double quote. Life is gonna move on with or without you. During my second year of trade school, one of my instructors said, when the job is done, make sure it looks like a tradesman did it. Double quote. Stuck with me ever since. I can't explain the best without first explaining the worst. Walk as little as possible by a consultation rheumatologist. I did, and it ruined me. Took my freedom, fitness and many active years away from me and my family. The best advice was my own. Ignore the expert. Fight the pain. Don't give up. I still have bad days and months, but I have run half marathons. I no longer cry at night or have sleepless nights due to the pain I used to feel, and beat the addiction to tramadol. You won't grow if you always stay in your comfort zone. Double quote. If you are ashamed to tell people what you are doing, you shouldn't be doing it. People aren't against you. They are for themselves. Always helps me put social situations in perspective. I'm a 45-year woman. As a teen, my dad told me to go after what I wanted. College, jobs, clubs, a guy I was interested in. Any goal. He said if we all just sat around and only took the opportunities that fell into our laps, we would all be miserable. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Rejection can be survived, but there are some regrets from which you'll never recover. This has served me well professionally and relationship wise. My amazing husband only asked me out because I made sure he knew I was interested. Sometimes you give your all and it does not work. Sometimes your all is not enough. And that is okay, so you move forward. To thine own self be true. Don't lie to yourself. A good example is that there are some people for whom I'll do it tomorrow means they'll do it tomorrow. There are others for whom I'll do it tomorrow means it's not getting done. You know which one you are. And you should act accordingly. My dad used to always tell me, everyone is just trying their best. And that's all we can ask. Even though it may not seem like everyone is. They're doing what they think is best. And we just have to accept that. Go to work like it was your first day and you will never go hungry. Day 45. So what do I do around here? Fired. When trying to get her attention, you work so hard to impress her. Get her to notice you and like you. To make her proud. Once you have her, never stop doing that. I use the piece of advice with every single thing I do. If I do something, I do it for her. 13 years married. Silence is the key. Whenever I'm about to do something, I think, would an idiot do that? And if they would, I would not do that thing. Double quote. As offered by my dad, make me a father-in-law before you make me a grandfather. Don't worry what other people think of you. They're too busy worrying about the same thing to care. Advice for troubleshooting. If something is broken and you have no effing idea why. 1. Stop focusing on why something is broken. 2. Focusing on explaining, to yourself or someone you're working with, how it is meant to work. Many times this helped me when I hit a wall troubleshooting something complex. You are an idiot to focus on things you cannot change, instead of working on things that you can change. That changed my life a lot. From my 9th grade science teacher. Education isn't for everyone. Double quote. The older I get, the more relevant it gets. Michael Jordan saying stop it, get some help, best freaking advice ever. This is just a joke, so don't take it literal. I've had actual good advice that has actually impacted my life. If you're thinking about getting a tattoo, have a look at a photo of you 10 years ago. If you're happy with your hairstyle and the clothes you're wearing, get the tattoo. My uncle once told me to manage my time well, as being in a rush makes you stupid. It's true. Know that you did the best you can with what you had. I have huge insecurities about not doing enough or being good enough or doing the right thing. This phrase helps me a ton. Because it's not just about material resources. It's also about how tired you were or how much stress you have or your knowledge of the situation. All of which can make a situation go good or bad. Messing up doesn't make you a failure or lazy or a bad person. A guy I rarely know on Discord said, don't be afraid of dying, instead be afraid of the things you need to overcome tomorrow to get through your day. My depression since then is clearing up and I hope it will help someone else out there. My grandmother was walking with me down the hall when I was in 3rd grade and noticed I was walking with my head down. She said, always keep your head up high. And your shoulders back. I've done it ever since. And to this day I get compliments on how well I carry myself. And how much confidence I exude. Every time someone says that, I'm taken back to that moment in time with my grandmother.